Hi, so now I'm gonna read some funny dating stories. Okay, we're gonna see how it goes. This one's called Blowout. So this girl writes, it was my first date ever with a boy, and I had a slight cold. We went to a nice restaurant, and while we were eating our meal, I sneezed, and a huge booger bubbled out of my nose. It was awful, and it wouldn't go away. I jumped up as fast as I could and ran into the bathroom with my hands over my face. After that, the guy never asked to go anywhere with me again. It was so horrible. I'm so sad for her. Okay, here's another one called The Cat Trick. Someone writes, last year, when I had just started my first period, the boy I liked asked me out. Like her first period, as in like when the girls get their period. So the guy asked her out. I suggested that he and a friend come over to my house to watch movies. We had recently gotten a kitten, and she liked to take things out of the trash. So her kitten liked to take things out of the trash and carry them around. While we were watching the movie, she came into the living room and dumped something on my date's lap. He stared at it and then jumped up and said, "Whoa!" I looked over and realized it was one of my used pads. I threw it away fast, but when we finished the movie, he and his friend left in a hurry. Nothing ever happened with that relationship. Okay, spitting image. Here's another one. Someone writes, my new boyfriend and I were outside the movie theater, waiting for my mom to pick me up. We hadn't kissed yet, but I had a feeling it was going to happen soon. Just as I was thinking about my dream scenario, he came up and kissed me with his mouth wide open and slobbered all over me. There was saliva everywhere. A second later, my mom pulled up and yelled, "Way to go! First kiss!" I was traumatized. Ew. Pushing his buttons. Okay, here's another story. A bunch of my friends, including my crush, were going to the movies. As soon as we got to the theater, everyone coupled off, and I was left with my crush. In the middle of the movie, he started to make a move on me, but stopped midway and started wiggling around. He finally settled in his chair and pulled me to him. After a few minutes, he started making weird grunts. He then blurted, "You're leaning on my stomach. Can you get off?" I had been shoving my arm into his stomach. For support the whole time. Oh. Boo-hoo. This one's called Boo-hoo. Okay. My boyfriend was going to a children's museum with his younger brother and asked me to tag along. I didn't feel like it, but I could tell that he really wanted me to go, so I agreed. But once I started checking out the exhibits, it actually turned out to be pretty funny. There was one about the pyramids, and it had a giant maze attached. I wanted to play a joke on my boyfriend, so I ran ahead of him and hid. I waited behind a wall so I could jump out and scare him when he walked by. As soon as I heard him coming, I jumped out and yelled, "Boo!" All of a sudden, the little girl screamed and started crying. I had jumped out too soon and scared a kid who was at the museum with her mother. I felt so bad, but my boyfriend and his little brother could not stop laughing at my mistake. Ugh. Yikes. Okay, Sweet Nothing. This is another story. The girl writes, I was dating this boy, and I wanted to say something romantic to him over the phone. So I wrote a long letter to read aloud while talking to him. When he answered the phone, I began reciting my letter nervously. While I was pouring my heart and soul out to him, I heard some noise. It sounded like someone talking to another person and then handing the phone to him. My guy then interrupted my speech and informed me that I hadn't been talking to him before. His uncle had answered the phone. That whole time, I had been confessing my love to his relative. Oh, God. Okay, here's another story. Pop, stop. Okay, someone writes. These are all stories that people are writing on the internet. My boyfriend and I went out with another couple on a double date. On the way to my house, the two of us were making out in the back seat. The entire way home, there was this car tailing us really closely. It was so annoying. But when we pulled into my driveway, we realized it was my dad in that car. He'd been watching us go at it the entire time. I was completely mortified. Oh, it's disgusting. Okay, here's another one. Red-faced. At a school dance, I was making out with a guy in a closet. The kiss felt really wet, but I didn't want to stop. Finally, he pulled away, pointed at my face, and said, "What's that?" I touched my cheek, and before I could figure out what was wrong, he said, "You're bleeding." I'd gotten a nosebleed mid-makeout. The blood was all over both of our faces. Guess he was grossed out because he rushed out of the closet and left me standing there. Oh, that's horrible, you know? How could he just leave her like that? I don't know. Tall tales. Here's another one. I was sitting in the cafeteria with my friend when I decided to play a little joke on them. They all knew I was totally in love with this guy, Brian. So I decided to tell them I was dating him. They stared at me in shock as I told them how he had called and said he loved me. The tale was really getting good when I heard a voice behind me say, "So, when did this all happen?" I turned around and there was Brian. I'm having a good time with this, okay. Vlogs past. Here's another one. Someone writes, "It was my first Valentine's Day with a serious boyfriend. We went out for dinner, and he draped a beautiful gold necklace on me. I was so flattered until later that night when I noticed a gross green ring around my neck. My guy swore the jewelry was real, but his friend told me he'd found the necklace on the street and just picked it up off the ground. Oh, that is so insulting. I mean, technically he could have gotten away with it if that friend didn't tell her, but... WrestleMania. Here's another story. This guy was really into asked me to go to a movie with him and his friends. Everything went fine until my dad came to pick us up. My father asked one of the guys if he was a wrestler. Then my dad looked at me and said, "She wrestles." He put me in a headlock and gave me a noogie in front of all the three guys, including my crush. I was totally mortified. Oh. Oh, God. Oh. Okay, here's another one. This is one, and then there's another one, and that's it. Here's a story. It's called PayPal. I was at a date with this guy, and when the check came, I offered to split it, even though I thought he would say no. But he said yes. I turned bright red and told him that I'd accidentally left my wallet at home. I didn't bring it, thinking I wouldn't need to. He looked annoyed, and I never went on a date with him again. Oh my God. If I went out with a guy and he let me split the check with him, that would be over anyway. Foul play. I attended a party with my crush. This is another story. I attended a party with my crush, a hottie from the basketball team. He was so cute, and I was so nervous around him. I was trying to act cool as he was telling me a funny joke, but just as he said the punchline, I laughed so hard that I peed in my pants. And his friends walked by and shouted, "Oh my God, this girl just peed herself." Everybody started laughing. I definitely stayed away from the rest of his games that season. I remember time. Basically, me and my sisters, we were going, it was the holiday of Sukkot, where they have, all the Jews have the booths, and you eat out in the booth. So there's like a thing we do when you can go from hut to hut, from people's houses to houses, into their booth, and they leave out like cake for guests, anyone who wants to come. So we had gone to the sukkah, the booth, and it was like 3 a.m, and I was a kid. I was like 12 at the time, and I don't know, we were making some sort of jokes, and we were laughing and laughing, and everyone was laughing so hard, and I was laughing so hard that I peed. All of a sudden, I felt myself peeing in my pants. I peed in my pants, and thank God it was the night, because I peed in my pants, and thank God I was like a block home from my house, because that was really embarrassing. Like, I walked to my apartment building with my sisters and brothers, and we rang the bell, and I got upstairs, and everyone knew I peed in my pants. You know? It was the only time I actually peed in my pants in public. I won't tell you about the other times I peed. Thank God there wasn't a lot of people to see me wet my pants, so yeah, talking about peeing your pants. Okay, until next time, I hope you enjoy.